Hey everyone, this week we have top 10 free-to-play games. Have a look at the list. If you liked it or you didn't like it, jump into our Facebook page or join the conversation on Twitter. The reason why we chose this list is for those of you out there who are a little bit strapped for cash and you still want to have a really great game experience. Take a look at this and see if there's anything there that you might be interested in playing. At number 10 is Blacklight Retribution, a mindless first-person shooter with some interesting gameplay mechanics like the ability to see through walls. It's great for when you just want to switch off and kill things. However, as a pay-to-win game, I wouldn't recommend it as a serious shooter. At number 9 is PlanetSide 2, a massively multiplayer first-person shooter where it's you and 1,000 friends fighting against your opponent and 1,000 of their friends for control of the world. It has some intense moments, but I found myself spending a lot of time standing around waiting for countdown timers. At number 8 is Path of Exile, an action RPG made in New Zealand for those who remember and love games like Diablo 2.
Dead as a doornail he was, buried him myself. Then, a few days later, I see him on the beach, a little worse for wear, but upright, shuffling about. A land full of disturbing surprises, this Rayclast.
At number 7 is Quake Live. It's a browser-based version of Quake 3 with all the insane, fast-paced combat that we all know and love without the hacking. At number 6 is Warframe. To put it simply, it's Space Ninjas. At number 5 is Hawken, a first-person shooter where you pilot a mech. Its slightly slower combat makes it more strategic, and with Oculus Rift support, it's one of the most immersive games on the list. At number 4 is World of Tanks. It has everything you need to have fun in a game. Big guns, loud engines, and explosions. Its strategic element keeps people coming back for more.
Enemy vehicle destroyed. Bailout! This vehicle has had it.
At number 3 and number 2 is League of Legends and Dota 2. Both MOBA games have a huge player base and an equally large competitive gaming following. I couldn't decide for fear of my own life which one deserved to take third place and the other second. I'll let you decide that one for yourselves.
Dire's bottom barracks are under attack.
And the number 1 free-to-play title is Team Fortress 2. With its zany art style and consistent fan base, since becoming free-to-play, it has been one of the most popular games on Steam.
So that was the top 10 free-to-play games. A lot of shooters in there.
Yeah.
Some of them are really good. Like I love Team Fortress 2. Say what you want about hats. I actually got you remember? I don't want to bring it up, but you know Corey. You'll know yellow sunglasses, Corey.
Oh,
Yeah.
Corey,
Corey Worthington.
Yeah, that's
I got that from a summer sale once, and I've like worn it ever since.
Oh my gosh, I still got like the Oculus Rift hat that you get with the Oculus Rift for playing with the Oculus Rift. So
really.
yeah, oh my gosh, surprise, right?
Go figure.
Wow. Yeah, that's pretty cool because it looks like everyone's blind and you see them running around, which is great.
Vince, what was your favorite on the list?
Well, I remember back in the day I used to play a lot of Quake, so that would probably have to be my favorite of the list, and it could have been a little bit higher, but I was pretty happy where it was.
So now we're going to go to Homegrown, where we check out frames.
So I'm here with the creative directors of framed. A cool little kind of, what would you describe? Is it comic book? Is it film noir? Is it a bit of both?
Yeah, I guess the best way to describe it is an animated graphic novel. It's a narrative puzzle game, and the whole goal of the game is to rearrange panels to change the context of the narrative.
So you actually released a kind of, I'm not sure if it's a teaser or like a video showing what you wanted Frame to be. When you first started that video, you obviously had like a plan in mind how you wanted the game to look like, to sound like. How close do you think that you've replicated that idea that was in your heads? I'm guessing many months or maybe even years ago.
Yeah, I think like when we made that teaser, we actually had a build going at the time, so we knew we could do it. It was already proven. It just wasn't ready to be shown, so we deliberately showed something that was more, I guess, down to earth, a little more concept looking.
Just to basically show the concept without really having too much flavour in it to give away exactly what we were going to do with it, you know, from that point on.
And since then, you have shown it in like some expos, like you said, PAX and your game, was it? What was the kind of crowd reaction to it? Because I know the first time you play it, it's definitely a different experience than what we've like seen. I don't think anywhere. So
I think people kind of pick it up and they're not quite sure what it is to begin with, and they're willing to give it a go because they like the look of it, and then they play around with it, and then they penny drops and they understand what it is, and they generally tend to love it. Actually, they really sort of feel like they're progressing the puzzles past the puzzles, and they sort of get wrapped up in the story, wondering what's happening in the story. But really, I think that they tend to really just love the fact that it's just page after page of puzzles. That's really what I've taken away from the shows, is that they've really enjoyed that aspect of it.
Yeah, just overwhelmingly positive.
Cool. There's definitely like a moment of realization you see on people's face when they're like, "Oh my god, like I've figured this out now," and then you get to like one of the harder puzzles and they go,
Again.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a cliche, but that's kind of what's happened, is that people tend to come away from it feeling really good, and that a lot of the time they play it to the end. At these shows, they play the game all the way to the end, and then say, when is there more?
So Josh, can you tell us about how you came up with the concept?
Yeah, so the concept was, the main idea was to, instead of having a lot of actions that you have like in most games, the idea was to have the main character have his own agency, to have his own actions, and what you're doing is you're changing the panels and changing the actual context those actions happen in.
So it's like changing the environment around you, like our director said, not like controlling the character directly.
Yeah, you're changing the environment. So you can either be changing the environment or you can be changing the context that an action is happening in.
One time someone described the game as you're playing God with the gutters. It's quite interesting because those blank bits in between the panels are known as gutters in comic books. And what actually happens in those gutters and the length of time that passes is out of the player's control, but the player fills those gaps in with their imagination. So you'll notice in some of the levels, for example, one of the levels someone jumps through a window, you never actually see that happen, but you think you do. So it's quite interesting from that point of view.
Cool. And just lastly, like, it is coming out later this year. Where can we find it?
Everywhere.
Everywhere?
Do you want to answer that formally?
Yeah. So we're looking at getting it on Steam, so PC, Mac, aiming for Linux as well, iOS obviously, and Android too later date.
Thank you guys. Hey guys, hope you're enjoying the show. If you want to chat with us and also see previews of upcoming episodes, jump on our Facebook page. Also on our YouTube page, we have previous episodes and extended cuts of interviews. Also check us out on worldwidegaming.com.au. See you after the break.